Persistence and appreciation. Persistence is an attribute of the Internet that we often overlook or underappreciate. Persistence is the act of putting things in cyberspace. You upload, you publish, you post, whatever you want to call it, and once you put things there pretty easily, they stay there. Now you could argue that an atomic bomb or an electromagnetic pulse could wipe out all of our computers and all of our data centers, and all the stuff we've put up in cyberspace could be wiped out. Or we could have cyber war, for example. I agree that that's a possibility, but for a moment hang with me and let's talk through what the implications of persistence might be to somebody like Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz, who was a polymath back in the early Enlightenment, who corresponded with over 600 people across Europe in his day before there was really a postal service. What would Leibniz have done with something that was able to publish and hold his materials online all the time? So let's rewind the clock. Let's actually go backwards quite a ways. Let's rewind the clock all the way back to cave paintings, to prehistoric days when people were busy trying to communicate in different ways, and think through how many people could you reach in this way. Now, a lot of early art like this was probably deeply religious art. It was done inside caves, or at least that's the only stuff we still see these days. But if you wind the clock through early writing and scribes, and then the bio-tapestry and ways of communicating through woven materials, and then go all the way through to the very famous printing press, printing shops, and the printing presses that evolved, and the media businesses that turned into, where you could use the tools on the left to make the things on the right. So you could use a typewriter to write a book, or a tape recorder to make a record, or a camera to make a movie, for example. But imagine how hard it was to find your way into a magazine that would be in a newsstand, or a book that would be in a bookstore. You had to find an editor. You had to find your way through the businesses of media that were really jealously guarded, and it wasn't easy to get through. At some point, that media business was perfected. It's somewhere in the 70s or 80s, to the point where in the US we had 3 major media channels, and people were comforted somehow that many people were watching somebody like Walter Cronkite tell us what was really true. That was broken. That was turned upside down by the advent of the Internet. And the Internet did a whole bunch of things and provided some worthwhile and some less worthwhile information. It really was this incredible pool for a whole bunch of things, some funny, some cute, some actually very serious. So here's the Craigslist from Copenhagen, where you can see that you can buy and sell things just like Craigslist in several hundred other cities. Very, very useful stuff. Sometimes what you find on the Internet is social commentary. And a lot of what you find on the Internet is made more powerful and is amplified by the use of Creative Commons licensing. So the Creative Commons allows us to share and share alike all these different media, and this particular presentation is under Creative Commons as well. What's happened is that we're all available now, we're all talking, and our conversations aren't transient like on the phone system. They actually persist, they stick around, and this is hugely important. What does it mean? What are the implications? Well, very, very quickly, it's clearly going to change democracy. Not only because now I can see a whole bunch of video clips of actual speeches and actual facts, but our arguments, our principles, our ideas, our belief systems are available to be online. We could actually have a long-term conversation where our text persists online and is useful over and over again. Education is clearly changing. Look at all the variety of free educational resources and open resources that are usable and reusable that are online. We're building stuff. We're actually able to make things, because what we can put online is not just articles, not just pictures, not just movies, but code, software that can be modified by other people and improved. All these different things allow us to change the world in really fruitful ways, but at the same time, they threaten a lot of businesses. What do I mean? Well, for example, if you're Britannica, you can't be thrilled about the advent of Wikipedia. We just can't be very excited that these guys came along and basically nuked your business model. But if you're society, this is a boon, isn't it? Isn't it a boon that we have a free educational resource, an informative resource that we can use for democracy, for education? You know, if you had a civic dialogue about zoning and you needed to look up what is zoning, how does zoning work, maybe you'd look in Wikipedia, maybe you'd look someplace else. So these forces are really in a process now of seeking a new balance, and we're not really quite sure where they're going to end up. But what we do know is that there's an awful lot of forces at work, and that we're grateful, or at least I'm grateful, for this new phenomenon, this persistence that we have from the internet.